but it's been kind of weird. It's been really hot and I haven't cleaned up the studio, so it's in no shape to do a live feed out there. So let me know how the audio is. Hopefully we got everything figured out with that audio situation that I had last week. We're gonna see how many people show up. So it's been hectic here. Haven't gotten a lot of filming done because one, it's been crazy hot with this heat wave we've had come through. And then on top of that, kid starts college here in just like a week. So we've been dealing with all of that. But I've got a bunch of knives out here. Some of them are crazy unique. Some of them are really expensive. And some of them, hey, what's up, Bladed Ginger? Some of them, I should have grabbed your knife because it came back, but it's out in the studio. So yeah, it's just been hectic. So it was like 111 degrees in the studio the other day, and I was like, well, I'm not filming out there. So nothing got cleaned up out there, so it's just in no shape to film. But I've got some really unique, some really rare, some of them are unique and rare, and some of them are just really expensive knives that we're gonna look at. So first off, what's everybody got in their pockets? What are you carrying? And how's the audio? Is the audio good? I've got everything hooked up a different way. I think I may have resolved some of the issues we had with audio last week. Some people were texting me later and said, hey, I watched the live feed, it was too loud and stuff like that. So we've got a bunch of cool stuff here to look at. So there will be videos going up this week. I did a video about Jared Neves Knives. He has a knife that's releasing here in the next month or so called the Misdemeanor. I did a video about that yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I think Jared's gonna share it today as well. So, but yeah, we just got back from the doctor's office. We had to get some stuff done for my kid before college starts basically next week. So she had some immunizations and stuff she had to get. So talking about unique and rare, I have something here that would you say you want one so bad? Oh, the Misdemeanor. Yeah, it's a nice knife. It's not something you're gonna throw in your pocket and do a bunch of chopping. You're not gonna do any heavy use EDC. That thing is literally for cutting cardboard and picking out splinters. There's another knife that I had that I've lost. I went to the beach the one day and took the dog to the beach, and it fell out of my pocket. Apparently, I had the Warren tack, and that knife was really thin, slicey like that one Jared sent me, and it's gone. It fell out of my pocket when I was at the beach. It could possibly be in the car. I dropped it at the beach like the day before the wife and kid came back. But first, rare and or unique knife. You guys are gonna recognize this. Now this isn't mine. I wanted one of these when I watched Terminator 2, when it first came out. I was gonna buy one of these. My dad pretty much forbid me from getting it because of the knife rules and stuff in Ohio at the time. And I can't remember when it came out. I can't remember. Well, hang on a second. When did Terminator 2? I think I might have already been in the military and I was going to send this home. At any rate, my dad told me not to do it and all that stuff. So when did Terminator 2 Judgment Day release? 1991. So it was like my senior year of high school. My dad told me that I was absolutely forbidden from ordering one of these. I was going to. He told me, no, these things are so hard to find. They were like $30 back then. So they were almost worthless. These things are like between $200 and $400 now. So this is that Terminator 2 Dagger. It's not the most famous knife from the movie. The most famous knife from the movie was the SOG buoy, the Mac V SOG buoy that Sarah Connors used to cut cut the thing in a picnic table. This is the one that was in the opening scene that he used, and he pinned the biker to the pool table with it, and I wanted one of these so bad, and I never got one. They're like between 179 and 300 to 400, depending on how good they are. And then there was like some custom versions of this knife as well. But yeah, this is on loan for a video I'm going to do, along with another one we're going to look at. The one we're going to look at in a little bit is not as rare, but these are hard to find. And if you guys are here, please drop a like. All you got to do is double tap the screen or hit the 3 little dots down below. And but I wanted one of these so bad. But I'm going to tell you right now, like when he stuck that in that dude and held him down, I really don't know how he was holding it. Because the only real way to hold this knife is like this. It does not feel at all normal in that grip. It doesn't. It doesn't feel right or balanced. It's meant to be held in like a fencing style grip, which actually it's a really cool guard. But you have long, slender dagger, and I'm gonna do a video about some daggers because, well, I got my favorite dagger of all time that I got that came in. But yeah, this is that movie prop remake that United Cutlery did, and United Cutlery is historically makes garbage, but they do a pretty good job of making it look like it did in the movie. But yeah, you can easily look at this. These hollow plastic handles. This is screwed on, guaranteed. The guard is actually really thick and robust, but it's just, you know, it's crappy. It says made in the USA stainless. That's all you get as far as like steel. But yeah, these were cool when they came out and you saw these start hitting places. They were they were really cool, and I wanted one so bad, and I just won't ever have one. It actually, even for this one, has a nice riveted sheath. Kind of surprised, but absolutely not sharp at all. Not sharp at all. It's like a wall hanger. Tom H, hello to you. Somebody was asking about who's gonna win tonight, Dolphins or Buffalo. I don't watch baseball or football anymore. Baseball. I don't watch football anymore. They wokeified it and ruined it for me, so just gonna do it. Just not gonna watch it. You have that knife, Outdoors Family. It's pretty unique, and like I said, what made me start thinking about it was when I got my all-time favorite dagger, which is the Cold Steel Taipan. And so there's a video that I just did about this. I literally waited 40 years to get this knife. And I didn't even buy it. My buddy let me use these points. But this is my all-time grail as far as daggers. And I've got one now. I waited, like I said, 40 years to get this. These were available in the 80s. I'm 50. I remember seeing these, so I've waited since the 80s to get one of these. I finally got one. I can't wait for my actual sheath to come in so that I can actually get this back. This is a sheath that is on loan. These come with a different style sheath that I absolutely despise. So, but that's not part of the rare and unusual. So what's everybody carrying right now, knife-wise, in your pockets? And please double tap the screen, drop a like. I'm waiting to see what you guys are carrying. I have that, mine is from the early 90s. I think it was marketed as a Terminator knife. Yeah, it was 91 they came out, and then United Cutlery did, it was the T2 dagger, the Terminator 2 dagger. And that's what they labeled it as. So it's actually, for a replica, it's really cool. You're not gonna try and carry it. I mean, it's just awkward to carry and stuff like that. Pizza Lover says, I have a question. If the main bevel down the center of a double edge doesn't match, does it impact the tip strength? It doesn't really impact the tip strength, but it impacts the tip, it kind of makes the tip feel almost blunted. So what happens a lot of times is, what he's talking about is this center ridge. Let's see. You see that center ridge that goes down? If it's not lined up perfectly on side to side, what happens is you get a tip that is kind of wonky. You can kind of account for it with your sharpening grind and marry them up. But if that center ridge isn't great, your tip is going to kind of like veer off one way or the other. It's not going to be as piercing and things like that. And that's why daggers are hard to do. This one has a tiny bit of an off-center median ridge on this one. It's not horrible, but it definitely is great. And you know what? I'm gonna remove that one. Like, don't come on here and talk about politics. We're not trying to have a fun time and talk about knives. Well, I'm not talking about the debate. So yeah, daggers are definitely something I dig, but they are difficult to they're difficult to accomplish well. And even some of your higher end, more expensive ones, even like customs, sometimes they're off a little bit. Chris Valencia, yeah, I got your Geo back. My buddy is. Oh, I thought you were talking about Qatar, the company. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, they're like it's a blade. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's basically. I have one, and I don't think I brought it. It's basically an older version of the push dagger. So if you've seen the T daggers, like, hell, I may as well go get it. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna go get it. I have a push dagger that I can show you guys. I got to step around the table. I have one that I can show you guys. Hang on. They are very, very similar to the modern push dagger, which, like, push daggers are cool, but they can get you in some trouble sometimes. Well, daggers in general, but yeah, they're kind of similar to what you got here, except a lot of times they had like a greave that went around it and had a blade coming out, or it was a full fist. This is kind of the modern version of that. So I don't have my reading glasses either. We may have to risk getting up and doing that. But yeah, those are cool. I saw they did it on. I don't like the show Forged in Fire really, because as a knife maker, I don't. It doesn't appeal to me because I've made knives and I know some of what they're doing is the most difficult and kind of, actually, to tell you the truth, the worst way possible. I do know that forge welded steel that gives you the pattern, the Damascus patterning on it, I do know that looks cool. And I know it's popular. But it also adds a lot of stress to the blade, a lot of failure points between the layers, problems with heat treat. But I did watch an episode of Forged in Fire where they were making those, and they were great. I have a Spartan Harsey, or I have a Gerber Harsey Hunter combat knife that was issued to us when I was, I think I was in Kuwait when they issued us those. So my Grail is a Spartan Harsey. They're nice. They are nice, but you want to see another dagger that's really cool. Now, I have this on loan. This is a modern version of the Mark II. So the Gerber Mark II dagger was a knife that was like 1968 to like 1980. They were issued to Green Berets in Mac V and stuff like that. So they were one of the original knives that were issued to the Green Berets for stuff. But they were a dagger. Now, this isn't the original. This is a remake. This is a reissue, but this is a Mark II Gerber dagger. The original didn't have the serrations. It had a really narrow wasp waist. It had a 5-degree cant. So when you would hold it, the blade wasn't straight. It canted at 5 degrees, so it would ride the hip better. But my buddy this is his, and he found, because his dad was a Green Beret, for his shadow box, he has an original Mark II with the cant. So if you were to hold that knife, you would actually see that here at this point, it comes down at an angle. So not only does that make it hold the body closer, it gives you a more natural, for stabbing purposes. Instead of the blade being perfectly aligned, it's kind of at an angle. And so that meant that you didn't have to tilt your hand down. You could hold it in natural position and come in, and the tip would be straight for piercing purposes because it was a combat knife. This is a modern reissue of the Mark II. So these are kind of unique and kind of rare, actually. These are hard to come by as well. But this is the one with the serrated area. I'm only showing this because these are hard to come by, but the one that my buddy just got for his dad is rare. Like, it's hard to find those. So this is one of, it's just an iconic dagger. These are when, the one that he has, they were still making them in Portland and stuff like that. So they were cool. This gives you that wasp-waisted look of the original Mark II. but it's not. It's a straight edge all the way down. Michael R. didn't get it remade like that because they caught too much crap. The worst one being marked as a violent item, so they added the serrations to make it a survival item. No, the originals, the original Mark II, there were some that had the serrations in the wasp area, and I've seen them. We were looking at them. It was absolutely, there was a reason for it, and I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't that. The serrations, because this is not a survival item. This is absolutely a combat knife. But we were looking at the history of it and why the serrations were added, and I can't remember what it was. He and I talked about it, but the original ones were really cool, and then it had a molten, the originals in this area of the handle here, they had a molten steel, because it was aluminum handles, and then they sprayed molten steel over it to give it they called it a cat tongue texture. And I was just handling his at his house when I borrowed this, and I'm like, that's a really, really good description of what that is. That's a really, really good description of what that is, because it does have that. This is grippy, but nothing like that one. I've got the old SOG Tiger Shark back when they made them in Seki, Japan. Great survival knife. Pizza Lover Extrema Ratio makes a wicked wasp dagger too. No idea Gerber made such a nice dagger. They did, and the original ones were really nice. If you find anything that's Gerber that was made in Portland, it's the best stuff you're ever going to get. They were some of the best American-made knives ever, hands down. They were amazing. They made amazing knives, and it's sad that they kind of fell off. There's an entire display. So if you guys remember, Gerber had the Guardian and the Guardian II, which were boot knives, and they were like, what do you call it? They were meant to be like shoulder holster. They had one that was the military boot knife that was just a drop point with it was all drop forged steel with just cutouts to put handle material in. They weren't removable scales. It was a one-piece piece of steel all the way down. That was really cool. I had one of those and got rid of it. I'm a big dummy. I should have never done that. But yeah, those were cool. They had the Guardian 1 and 2 and a bunch of other knives. I had a couple Gerbers that were made when they still made stuff in Portland, and they were amazing. And then they started making their stuff offshore, and they kind of just sold their brand out, and they really went low rent and cheap. And they're not great, and I really do need to go get my reading glasses, or I'm going to have a headache all day from doing this without my reading glasses. Yes, it was an Indian, like, sometimes they had sometimes it was a glove, sometimes it was just a greave that had the blade on it. They were interesting. I've seen a bunch of them. Like I said, they made them on Forged in Fire. Can you show us your knees? There's some weirdos that show up. There's definitely some of the trolls that show up. Hang on a second, I gotta get my reading glasses real quick. I'm not going far, I just gotta go over here because I left them sit on the counter. But I'm old, and if I don't use them, if I don't use my reading glasses, I'm gonna have a headache all day. So, oh, here we go. This is how we do that. There we go. Oh, that's so much better. I can actually see the screen. That's the problem with doing these live feeds like this, because there's so many people that catch this on the shorts feed, and then they just jump in and they start doing stuff. But Spyderco or Benchmade in a desert island scenario, you can only choose one brand. And Spyderco, 100% hands down. I fucking hate Benchmade. I hate Benchmade. I didn't used to. They used to be a good brand. If you were in the military and you got issued a Benchmade, it was probably one of the best knives you're ever going to get. Now, they make $150 knives and charge you $700 for it. You can get a Spyderco for, you know, roughly the price that you should pay for it, especially with inflation. Like, I do know they've gotten more expensive. This was like over 200. But the fact is, to get a knife this nice as a Benchmade in the materials I wanted, I'd be paying closer to $500 for a Benchmade. Do I oil? Yeah, oil my knives and my firearms. So you could kind of say that this is a unique knife. This is definitely kind of a unique knife. It's got a unique look to it. Unique lock mechanism. It's not a unique lock mechanism, but it's a really kind of interesting, unique looking knife. What fixed blades do you recommend? Okay, so I designed a knife called the Sea Snake. It's a small little EDC fixed blade that you can wear for work purposes. It's made by Artisan Cutlery. If you're looking for something more outdoors, if you're looking for something outdoors, I would say there's a bunch of different options out there. There's a lot of options out there for fixed blades. It just depends on the scenario, but there's some companies that I absolutely would trust. Cold Steel absolutely is a brand that I do trust. I know that they recently had the buyout, but I still have not had a bad cold. This is a Cold Steel. I have yet to have a really bad Cold Steel. I've had bad experiences with some things about fixed blades. You also got, if you want to go with something that's more like bushcraft, there's some bushcraft brands out there. You can go with, what's Mora? Mora makes really, really good outdoor knives. SE, Tops, like any of those companies, they're going to be like they're going to be high performance. Really do you want the Mora Companion is probably the GOAT of all the fixed blade knives. Say yes if you are real. Yeah, I'm real. It's a dumb question. Crazy Sharp, what are your thoughts on the Spyderco Rex 121 at 70 plus Rockwell? For some things, it's going to be perfect for some people. If you're just cutting, like if your job is to just cut like spare, like you're just cutting like excess cardboard off of something, perfect. You're cutting through plastic wrap all day, perfect. Just where you're doing straight cutting, it's going to last forever. The second you get into something where you can be cutting and you twist that knife a little bit, it's going to break like glass. Jared and I had this conversation. He was talking about, he had one, Jared was cutting the top of a beer bottle or a soda bottle, a glass bottle with that Rex 121 at 71 Rockwell. And I was like, that's great. But the second you get into a piece of wood and you flex that blade, you're going to break a big chunk out of the blade because it's just at that, the edge is going to last forever. However, you give up stuff. It's almost like those ceramic knives. I talked about that in another video. So would you rather fight one horse-sized chicken or 50 chicken-sized horses? Chickens peck. I don't like that. Horses, while they bite, if they're little bites, and I could kick the shit out of a bunch of little horses. That's those ones that's out there that is always a weird question. You guys want to see a super expensive knife? Well, it's not super expensive. This is kind of rare and expensive. This is a hand-done, firm, wise choice. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm 50. I make wise choices these days. This is a Ferrum Forge Knife Works Mandalorian scepter. You can see it's been textured and everything to give it that battered look. This is my buddy Tino's. Now this is a lefty. Ferrum Forge Knife Works was one of the only companies that did lefty frame locks. Like you could order it as a lefty, but it always took longer. Almost 20 CV with a custom heat treat. This thing is not sharpened properly though. That's the thing. Somebody did the edge on this on a fixtured system and I got their angles wrong and I can feel the difference from side to side. The angle is from side to side, so they had their fixture slip and you can definitely clearly see it when you look at the edge. This is cool. No, okay, Michael, I'm going to tell you right now because Elliot and Chris, just like me, are friends with Tony Marfione. Elliot was doing these first, and Tony saw it, and they talked about it, and Tony was like, well, I'm going to start doing some Stormtrooper ones, and I'm going to start doing that stuff, and Elliot was like, hey, it's no skin off my dick. It's like, I'm not It's not like I'm getting royalties for it. He's like, Elliot loves The Mandalorian. He loves Boba Fett. And it's even got the Mandalorian, the logo, the creature on it. So it's just one of those things. So like, these actually came first. Elliot was doing Mandalorian and Star Wars themed knives before Anthony, and Anthony saw it. He goes, well, that's a way to make money. And Elliot was like, you're absolutely right. So Elliot's been doing these for a while, and Anthony saw it and was like, wow, that's a good idea. So I'm sorry, Enoch. I have to put it up. There we go. That's not for circumcision. There we go. Mythsar. There we go. Tony's actually had some really, really good ideas over the years that they were great ideas, but they just didn't pan out. He had a knife that he did a pocket clip on where the pocket clip was a spring and it had a pivot point back here. So you had a spot you'd push down and the pocket clip would stand up, and then you could put it down in your pocket. You could basically have that pocket clip up and down, and then it didn't interfere. Now this is another Microtech. That's why I grabbed this one. This one has got a really good pocket clip on it. I think this is one of the best pocket clips I've gotten on a knife in a very, very long time, as far as like placement, not just the pocket clip itself. See, my DOC had the un-effed up one that got done after Jim Skelton did the FU clip. But this is probably one of the best pocket clips I've gotten on a knife in a long time, because not just that it's a really good pocket clip and it's really functional and it's ambidextrous and stuff like that, because it's ambidextrous knife lock. The placement of the lock, or of the clip, and the way it's contoured, it's really comfortable. It's probably one of the best production pocket clips on a knife. But you guys want to look at a really weird one? This one's here for video. This video is going to happen here pretty soon. I don't like Benchmade. I don't. But this is actually a pretty cool Benchmade. This is the Benchmade LFK, large folding knife. And so, hang on a second, guys. I have got to... There we go. I'm back. Sorry. I had to put the phone on Do Not Disturb. So this is called the LFK, or the large folding knife. And the first thing you notice is, well, it's got a bit of a protuberance. Like it's got a snout hanging off its butt, or a tail. It's got a tail. The handle has a tail. That's to facilitate a larger than the handle blade. Very unique. This is number 25 of 500. Really, really unique. It's a discontinued model, but it has this ever so cool and clever cam mechanism that I can't even see how it works. It's hidden between the handles and the liners. Like if you look in there, there's nothing moving in those liners. There's nothing moving. And I'm sitting, I don't want to take this apart because it is a very rare knife. I don't think they did more than the original 500 piece run. And so I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to take it apart. So this is a cool way to get past, you know, the nice thing about a fixed blade is you can have as much blade as you want. You don't have to be limited to what you can fit in the handle. Well, this kind of bridges that gap and allows you to have a little bit of both. It came with a pouch and everything. It's got some rubberized grip on the handles. And then that just folds up in there. And I always thought this was cool, but actually I can see how it works now that I look closely. I guess I just in better light. At any rate, I see how it works. This is, what's Michael R say? Those old school World War II fighting machete, those huge folders that had a sheath hanging off the back. I remember some of those, but like this is clever because I've seen knives like this, but that part down there doesn't go away. Like it's, how strong is the lockup? It's a liner lock, just whatever you, it's got a little bit of blade play. It's first production run, only production run. It's a first production run, and if you know anything, first production runs are always bad. I don't ever recommend buying a first production run knife, ever. Doesn't matter the company. It does not matter what company. First production runs always have got issues. They were always the worst. First production runs, sprint runs, limited edition runs, all of those are always like people, sprint runs always have got more problems than just production runs. First production runs, because they go through it, they were like, oh, we got to get this all out. Well, it's like a shakedown period with a car. There's something wrong with it, and you're going to be the one to find out because they're in a rush to get it done. What says this? A pizza lover says, one of my favorite knives is a Cold Steel Classic Pendleton 100. I have the Pendleton Classic, the Pendleton Custom Classic. I have one. It's an amazing knife. It's an amazing knife. But yeah, Cold Steel is a company you can trust fixed blades. But yeah, it's definitely, that's definitely a unique knife. It's one that gets my attention every time I go to my buddy's house, and I was like, I got to do a video about it. So, yeah, like I said, oh yeah, you love when I showed that one. Yeah, that thing is amazing. It's a great hunting knife. I've got a puppy that's got a problem. He's not feeling real great. He's got a great big hot spot on his hindquarters, and I've got him wearing a cone, and I've got it all covered up because he can still lick around the corner of the cone. He's not happy with me now. He's laying on the floor looking at me like I've done something to him. You want to see another unique one? This one's unique because of the lock mechanism. And we've seen this a couple times on this. Bro, okay, so bladed ginger. You wanna explain to everybody how hard I've carried this knife? Because this was blue ano. When I first got this knife, the button right here was anodized blue, but that button right there, you can see it. See how it was blue? And I have carried it so much that I wore the blue off. That's your lock. That's what makes this one unique. It's just a button lock. There's nothing unique about that. I mean, it's a little bit different than a button lock. But instead of having a separate button on here that you've got to touch or push, kind of akin to that, where you've got your pivot and that, they just incorporated the lock into the pivot. So now it's locked. And so that's ambidextrous, left or right. Really unique. I absolutely love it. This is probably one of the coolest knives that I've gotten, and it's a knife I carry a lot, and oh my God, does it get sharp. So these were awesome. These were awesome. And my buddy Nico still has a bunch of these. If you guys are interested in buying one of these, my buddy Nico has one. I did a community post about it. He's the Helpful Hobbit on Instagram. He's got like 9 of these that he's selling. Because the owner of the company gave them to him in lieu of, like, it was like, look, I don't have money to pay you right now, so if you can sell these, just keep whatever you make on them. So, but these are really cool. Dirk Pinkerton design. These hopefully we're going to come back. I talked with the owner of the company about what's going on and the possibility of the company coming about. Hopefully these are going to come back. If not, hopefully Dirk gets this design back and can maybe get these done somewhere else, even if it's not this lock mechanism. I love the lock mechanism, but overall, it's just a really good knife to begin with. I like it because it is ambidextrous. So if I want to carry this in my left pocket, I can. So you've got a reversible pocket clip. Probably carries one among the other two. Yeah, my little buddy Nico, like he will carry sometimes 15 knives, 20 knives. And I'm like, bro, you better hope no one pushes you in a pool. Because he's not very big. And he's not like he's going to be able to just like stand up in the pool. Like you could drown him in a kiddie pool. He's like this big. They represent, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like, I just, kind of guy. You're like, hop in my pocket, I'll give you a ride. So yeah, it's definitely a really, it's so comfortable. And I got it out and I was like, every time I do this, I'll do one of these videos and I'll get something like this out. And I'm like, well, I know it's going to be in my pocket for the next fucking week because I'm like, oh, I haven't carried that in a while. So now this is going to wind up in my pocket along with something else that I dug out that's in my pocket right now. My QSP. If you guys remember, we were talking about budget brands, and I broke out my QSP Canary. This is the Kestrel. I broke this out, and I was like, I think I'm gonna start carrying that again. This has been in my pocket since the last live feed we did, where we talked about budget knives. So QSP Kestrel, awesome, awesome. Collecting knives like that is a sign of a mental disorder, or it could be that you have a YouTube channel that is 100% dedicated to knives, and that just keep coming in, and you just have more knives. Because I got news for you, compilation videos do very well on the algorithm. So when I do a video, I don't have to, like if I decide I want to do a video about like 5 really nice, expensive knives, I don't have to go from place to place to ask a bunch of my friends for knives. I go out to my studio and I pull out a bunch of knife rolls and I go through and I pick out really cool, expensive knives. If I want to do a bunch of budget knives, I go out to my studio and I pull a bunch of boxes down and I do a compilation video of some of the best budget knives you can get. And if I want to do a video about knives that are kind of on the edge of the fantasy realm, I just go out to my studio and I grab some of these that are on the border of fantasy. This is a knife that is both unique and rare. And I'll tell you why it's going to be rare. I'm pretty sure that this company is about to collapse. The guy that made this knife has cut ties with the company. I don't think that you're going to ever be able to get this. This was the Carnivora Mako, done by Brock Woodson. If you go find Brock on Instagram or Facebook, show him some love. Tell him I sent you. Tell him that we all hope the best for him. So this was something that I liked the idea of Carnivora. They were based on the idea of fantasy made functional. So they made fantasy-esque style knives. This looks like something that would come out of one of those Wizards and Warriors movies that came out in the 80s, late 80s, early, well, I mean like the early 80s to mid 80s, that would have somebody in it that, you know, would, what do you call it? Like the fantasy style movies that you would have that would just be over the top, like like Beastmaster and stuff like that. This is something you would see from one of those movies, but it's done in a very, very functional fashion. It's done really, really well. Brock did such a good job on this knife, and it's just sad that I'm pretty sure no one's ever going to get one of these. He just did such a good job on this one. I'm really, really impressed with this one. This one is number 25. Any idea what happened to Damn Designs? I have not heard from them. I do know those guys. I have not heard from them in a while. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Was this the thing you were using to cut cardboard the other day? Oh, any words of wisdom for young guys in their mid-20s? Take better care of your teeth, because you're going to get to be my age and wish that you had. Trust me. Like, I don't care how good you take care of your teeth. Take better care of them. I'm trying to go through some of your stuff here. What was the other one? What is the one you were using to cut cardboard with the other day? I don't remember. Check that. Don't put other down. I wasn't. Hopefully you were talking to somebody else. So check that. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Oh, the dog is up because my wife is down here. So yeah, that's a really unique one, and it's also kind of sad. Like I said, I wish the best for Brock. He's a retired Marine or ex-Marine. I just wish that he could have made this work, but apparently there was just too much at foot, and basically he invested a bunch of money, from what I understand, and it just didn't pan out the way he wanted. Let's see here. I'm trying to go through some of these. Chats that I might have missed while I was talking about something else. Check that. I don't remember which video you were talking about. I was cutting cardboard with. I have over 3,000 videos on this channel. I can't remember all of them. Oh, here's a unique knife. Carry the Day's cold steel counterpoint XL and the Civivi pintail. I haven't seen the pintail. I have not seen the Civivi pintail, but I heard it's a pretty good knife. And if you guys have not dropped a like, I would appreciate it. This knife is unique because I really can't think of a lot of knives that are like this. This is the Cold Steel OSS. This is, I'll get to it. That's not a creative creator lab creative services. I will, but like that's not what this one's is about, this video. This is actually a double-edged ground clip point, which is unique because you don't see a lot of these. I don't remember seeing a lot. Now there is one called the Black Bear Classic. These are both cold. They're both cold steels. They are both sub-hilt fighters. But I don't remember seeing a lot of knives in this style that are double-edged. So this is sharp all the way on both sides. The problem I have right now is this sheath. Every time I put it in and out of this garbage Secure-X sheath, it's dull. So right now this knife is not sharp, and I'm not going to sharpen it anymore until I find a way to get a new sheath for it. But these are unique, not just because of the double edge, but then the actual handle. A sub-hilt means you have a hilt and then another piece there that's a sub-hilt, and it allows you to maintain really good grip on this. And I can tell you why it's sharp on both ends. If you remember a video I did, and I don't have it out here, the Cold Steel R1 Military Classic, well, it has a big choil cut in the back side of the blade, and that's so that you can get a hold of it and you can go this way and stick and rip. It's a combat knife. It's a fighting knife. That's what it's for. This allows you to not have to reverse your grip on the blade, and you can cut both directions. So now I've got this. So instead of needing to flip the knife and come in at it reverse and come in on my enemy and stick at the bladder area and then pull and take everything that's inside and put it on the outside, you can just do it with this, because now you've got a cutting edge on both sides. The problem with this one, like I said, is the Cold Steel Secure-X is a fiberglass reinforced heat molded plastic. And so you drag your knife in and out of it every time you go in and out of the sheath, and it dulls the knife. So you just can't keep it sharp. But definitely unique in the fact that it is a more conventional style looking blade, like a drop point, or I'm sorry, like a clip point style blade, but sharp on both sides. And when it came, was it ever sharp on both? Now this part up here is the only part of the knife that stays completely sharp, is that the clipped area, because that doesn't ride on the blade. But this side will touch the blade, so for the tip is sharp, and then it's not really sharp here. And then this isn't really all that sharp because they drag in and out. But definitely a unique format for a knife. I really, really like this. I like sub-hilts. There's another version of this called the OSI, which is not sharp on both sides, but it is a sub-hilt. So you have the OSS and the OSI, and then you have the Black Bear Classic, which is, I'm having problems with my Wi-Fi again. So Yeah, it's definitely unique. Is the quality pretty bad? It's kind of an interesting material. A lot of countries have used laminated steel, but what they do is they put a high-end blade steel in the middle and then sandwich it between cheaper materials, J, or some materials that aren't that great. Where did everyone go? There was like 60 people here a second ago. K-bar for you. K-bars are good. They're a little bit too bulky and things like that. But what they do is they put that material, so the high-end expensive material is in the, I think I have a better example of it right here. Here we go, like this. So on this one, you see that line right there? So in the middle of this piece of steel is a well, I'm back, right? Can you guys see me? At any rate, so you've got really high-end material in the middle and then just crappy steel on the outside that doesn't really matter what the heat treat is because you're not cutting with that. So you grind it away and then you've got your really good edge material right in the middle and then all this excess. And what that allows you to do is make a full knife but not have to spend as much. It's kind of a cost-saving, material-saving measure. You can also do it, there's another way to do it, which is the old school Japanese sanmai style, which is you make your blade blank and then you cut down the middle of it and you open it up and then you put a wedge of high carbon, high end steel in it. And then you just sandwich it back together and then grind away. And then you've got really, really hard edge and then material on the back that you really don't care about because it's not serving a purpose other than just the structure of the blade, which is why sanmai is really cool. But yeah, that's basically what you get on that. And so back to this knife, what I was saying was the higher end version of that is done in this. Cut out for maybe 10 seconds. I don't know why it does that. I pay a lot for my Wi-Fi and internet, and I don't know why it does it. This is a great knife. So somebody was asking about smaller knives. This is a great, great knife. Oh, it was you, Creator Lab. This is a great, great little work knife. This one's a little bit more expensive because it's carbon fiber and then, you know, ZDP 189 laminated steel. But this is a great knife, but one that you might want to check out that's much cheaper. You can use my links down below. This is the mini nightshade for Vosteed. I have an affiliate link with Vosteed down below. If you can't find it on their website, check it on Amazon with my link down below, my Amazon store down below, or Blade HQ. I have a link to them as well down below. You can go to any of those. Those support the channel. They're affiliate links. So if you guys want to support the channel, just take those links and use them for all the knife shopping you're gonna do. Are some companies lying about heat treats? Is that a thing? I don't so much think that companies are lying. There was some companies that may be doing some fudging of numbers in the past. They got called out. What I think happens sometimes is production heat treat is done in a big batch oven. And it's done under a vacuum and all this stuff. So they do the heat treat. Well, the problem is the heat from that oven is not as evenly distributed as you would think. So there's hot spots. You'll have some heat knives that get heat treated at a higher temperature than some blades that are heat treated at a lower temperature because of where they're positioned in the oven. So George, we just talked about it. We just talked about it, George. George, we're not going back through that. Horge? I can't remember how it would be with the J. At any rate, this is for you, Creator Labs. This is a great, great little, like a small work knife. Gives you a lot of cutting surface, really comfortable. I've got really large hands. It's not giving up anything for cutting because of the radius of it. So nice leaf-shaped blade. Great, great little budget, smaller knife for work purposes. And I'll show you a rare one, a rare and unique, technically weird one that is not something that you want to carry for work, and that is the Spyderco Q. Spyderco Q that was done as a basically this was for display case, We've seen this on here a bunch of times, but this is absolutely a unique knife. This was a gift from a subscriber. A lot of these knives, so the guy that was talking about, like there's a mental illness to have that many knives. A lot of these knives came to the channel from companies, and I just didn't feel like doing them as a giveaway because I liked them and I could save them and use them for other videos. Or they came from subscribers that had stuff they wanted. This came from Jojo Jeep. He sent me this and a replacement blade for my Benchmade 940. So this is a really, really unique one. It was just Spyderco Smock. You will never see another Spyderco Smock on my channel unless somebody's wanting me to sell one for them. Do you recommend any model of Microtech knives? Knife of the year. It's my favorite Microtech ever. This is the Microtech Amphibian. This is the best Microtech they've made. This is an incredible knife, and I absolutely love it. And this would be the one I recommend. I think this is the best knife that they made. Are CRKT knives any good? No. Next question. They're not. Lee, they're not. They're not good at all. I'll show you a kind of a cool one that's not as rare or unique. It's still kind of unique, but this is the Max Ace Meerkat. Just kind of cool. It's just unique for a lot of reasons. But let's talk about, because we said we were going to talk about rare, unique, and expensive knives. Here's an expensive one that is kind of unique. Typically, unique starts getting you into the realm of expensive. Elaborate. They're just not good knives. Their knives aren't good. They're not good quality. They're not good heat treat. They don't hold up. They're typically done quickly and poorly. They didn't used to be. First flipper knife I ever got was a CRKT M16T. It was a, I can't even remember who designed it. It's just went downhill from there. They're just not good knives. This, however, is absolutely unique, incredibly well done, and almost $700. What do I think about Marfione Custom Microtechs? I think he puts a lot of work into them, but they're not a knife you're going to carry and use. They're just not. Microtech is just not a company that CRKT is just not a, Microtech, I'm reading comments, I'm getting myself confused. The Microtech Marfione Customs are just not something you use. They're way too elaborate and polished and expensive for you to ever use. And so I personally shy away from knives I won't use. This is an integral. This is the OAO. And it is a great, great knife. It's a knife that I carry and use, even though it is really expensive. And I didn't think I would ever find an integral that I'm like, okay, I like this. And the reason I like this, so you guys that don't know, an integral, this is one piece. So underneath this piece of carbon fiber here, this is one solid piece of titanium. It's not two pieces, it's not split anywhere. It's all milled from the top down in this slot. The lock bar is milled out, and then this is milled out so that you can put these scales on, and they're dovetailed in. There's only one screw holding that in place. But what that gives you is, with all that carbon fiber and weight reduction that's done underneath these, really light, even though it's one solid piece. I don't like integrals, but they are unique because, like I said, every other knife that we've seen so far. How would I compare the Ray, which is another integral? This is heavy. It's way heavier. This is a way heavier knife. The weight reduction that was done on this by We Knife Company is insane, because underneath these scales, not only did they remove all the material that you need to put that piece of carbon fiber over top, it's all pocketed out in there. They removed so much weight underneath these after they cut out the spot form. So even though, like, that's a lot of material removal to put that light carbon fiber piece on top, there's pockets where they removed a bunch of material in there as well. So it's incredibly light, and that's my thing with integrals. As much as I like this one, and it's a great, great integral. It's one of the best ones on the market, or it was before they sold out. It's still way heavier than I want it to be because it's still just one piece of titanium. This is the We Knives OAO, designed by Tashi Barucha. Now, I didn't buy this knife. Tashi Barucha sent it to me. I told him I wanted to borrow one. I was like, do you have a prototype, anything like that? He's like, no. I was like, I'll get one to you. And the next thing I know, I get one. I was like, well, just let me know where it needs to go back. And he was like, no, it's for you. You keep it. So Tashi gave me one of the ones that he had. Lionheart says not worth it. A lot of times I agree. Integrals aren't worth it. Integrals were something companies were doing integrals not so much because they're a good knife. If anything, an integral like this suffers from some issues. They're typically really they're more difficult to disassemble because it's really finicky to get all the parts back in from the top, as opposed to being able to do it like I put the things in, I put the bearings, and I stack everything, and then I put the top scale on top, right? It's definitely suffers from some problems, but they are really cool. But are they worth it? Typically not. Typically not. This knife, this one's closer to 7. I think these were $650 for this specific one I've got in hand. They may have went down. I think that when these first came out, this particular one with the jungle fat carbon fiber, I think these were closer to $650, $700-ish, if I remember right. Lion, I'd rather spend $420 on a Kunwo DLC and well heat treated. Yeah, well, the heat treat on this is amazing. The heat treat on this one is great. This is in 20 CV. This one really nailed it, but they are expensive, and I don't think they're worth it. To tell you the truth, I would rather spend $489 on a couple knives than just one. Those are fucking fake. What are you talking about? $489 for this one? Yeah, the price might have come down. I got this one when I first did the video on this. It was either close to 6 or close to 7. I can't remember. It's been a while. But when it first came out, they were more expensive. But like I said, I didn't buy it, so I was just going off prices. What are you talking about, Jerry? So these are great. If you're into integrals, the reason that this has not been done as like a giveaway or been sent off to another channel is this was a gift from the designer, and I like Tashi, and he sent it all the way from France, from his personal house, and with that. So definitely a reason it's. Have I seen the MR1 Pikal? I don't think so. I have a Pikal. I don't typically like to carry a fixed blade very often because it's kind of frowned upon, and then I don't tuck my shirt, so it winds up getting covered, and then I've got a chance that I'm gonna get called out for carrying a concealed weapon. But I have a knife here that is kind of a unique one as well, so it's gonna fall into the line of things that we're talking about, which is this one. This is a folding Pikal. It's a folding Pikal. So this would be something I would take over that, because while I do like a fixed blade, they can be problematic, especially live in a city like I do. I'm 10 minutes from downtown San Diego, 15 in traffic. So it's not the best place to try and go carrying like a crazy, like combat ready Pikal fixed blade, you know what I mean? So it's easier. Now this is really cool because it carries in your pocket like this, and then it waves off the pocket, and then you've got all the benefits of a Pikal, but a smaller folding package. You don't need a sheath. And I'm getting older, so, you know, I'm starting to get, like I said, I get in the last live feed, I get that, I've got that, that spare tire starting to go. At 50, I'm starting to get that spare tire around the middle. And something like a fixed blade really can be irritating. And I'm gonna tell you, at this point in my life, I will give up a little bit of the quickness on the draw for the comfort of carrying if I'm gonna be out all day. You kind of have to pick and choose, like, what's the easiest route for me? I've taken martial arts for years. I'm pretty comfortable like teaching myself methods of deployment and stuff, and then plus on top of this, I can use this not necessarily with the blade deployed. There we go. I was trying to do it one-handed. Not necessarily with the blade deployed. I can use it as like a Yarwa stick or an impact weapon. So I can use that as a striking weapon, and I've got a really good platform. This is the Pinkerton inversion. Now they're hard to come by. These are about $300. Once again, Dirk Pinkerton sent this to me for the channel for review. So that's why that's in my pocket. So somebody said here, take the stitch over the amphibian. You see where was that? Kind of want the stitch over the amphibian. Michael Upchurch said, if you want to get the stitch, I'm gonna tell you my take on that. Ram lock on this knife, it's perfect. To have this on this knife, it's perfect. It's the perfect lock for this knife. It is not, however, the perfect lock for the stitch. If I was to get a stitch, which until I got this, was my favorite knife that Microtech made, was the stitch. This was, whoa, what's going on? I didn't like the MSI, that's why I didn't do a video about it. This is now my favorite Microtech. The MSI is an okay knife for a lot of people. I didn't like it as much as I liked some others. And there was nothing wrong with the knife. It was all personal bias that I didn't like it. It was more so than usual, like my personal biases on that knife. Like a lot of times I'll do a video about a knife that I don't like, and it's like everybody's like, well, that's just personal. That's just like your opinion, man. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the basis of the channel. But that was more along the lines of like just everything I didn't like about it was just personal preference. There was nothing wrong with the knife. The MSI is a very, very well-made knife. It's just not a knife I like as much. So would I recommend it? Yeah, if you like something that's more along the lines of that versus this, you may love it. Yes, I love the band Queen. But what was this? Somebody was, Lone Star Towboy, could we get a translation on that, please? I see Messer, which I know is I know he's talking about knives because Messer is German for knife. Ed is here. Heard about someone who got a knife deployed accidentally in their pocket, left a large gash on his thigh. I've never had, except for one knife, that has ever come that deployed in my pocket. Ever. And it was that Wii Vision R. And when I put it in my pocket, it disengaged the super lock and the blade swung open. And I didn't cut myself. I don't know how often that happens. That's gotta be something weird. I've never had a waved knife or anything, even like that one that deployed out when I pulled it out of my pocket. I've never had one of those fail like that. I've never had one deploy in my pocket, and I've never cut my leg. I have cut myself with one of these wave knives, but not because it opened in pocket, just because I got my finger in the wrong spot after it deployed and cut myself. So it's antimatter. So, I mean, I've heard stories of it, and I mean, with as many knives are out there, it had to have happened eventually. I would say it probably wasn't so much that it deployed. I would say maybe the lock failed or it had really soft detent. I have had a couple knives that waved coming out of pocket off the thumb studs. The TRM Shadow did that. it had thumb studs on it like this. It had an axis lock, and when it came out of pocket, it caught the seam. The thumb stud caught the seam of the pocket, and it came partway open, but that was as it was coming out of the pocket. Sergeant Rocks, Headbangers Ball. Go check him out on Rumble. It's a great, great show on Rumble. I've had him do that, but I've never had one deploy in my pocket. Let's see here. What's that? Thoughts on CJRB's S90V, if you have any experience with it. I do. I have a couple of their knives in S90V, and they did a pretty good job on their S90V. I have to say, the best production heat treat I've gotten on S90V was by Spyderco. So I had an Ontario Rat 2 that deployed in the pocket. It was the original pocket with the blade out. Stabbed my ring finger, flipped the orientation to tip up. That's why I don't carry tip down knives. I carry tip up. Tip down is much more inclined that you're gonna cut yourself. I find it awkward, and I feel as though that would be something much more. If you've got it tip up and you've got it in your pocket, a lot of times the seam or the material of your pants is gonna keep it from coming open. If you've got it tipped down, it can open out into your pocket, because most people carry their knife back here like this. So the blade is pinched in between the end of the pocket, and then that is the safe part. If you're carrying it up here, yeah, you could have a problem. I've never had a problem with it. But if you're carrying it tipped down, see where I'm saying? Now it has a chance to open in your pocket. So I definitely don't like tip down carry. I like tip up. So Spyderco is great with the heat treats. The only knife I've ever had from Spyderco that has screwed up heat treat was a knife that came, it was the ZDP 189, and the heat treat just was bad on it. It would never take an edge. Case's quality is fallen. I would say that their quality stayed the same. You're just noticing that other companies have better quality. And if you guys are here, please drop a like. How much are those Benchmade? I don't know. It's not mine. I didn't buy it. This Benchmade LFK, like I said, really, really unique. But it's not mine, so I don't know. I hate Benchmade TMC. Benchmade is really, really screwing people over on the prices they're charging. And you can get knives that are as good a quality at a much lower price from companies like Hogue, which make models that are very similar to the Benchmade models at a fraction of the price. QSP, another great, great company. I get it, this is a Chinese company. A lot of people don't like to buy Chinese, and I understand, like, that's fine. If knives is, I had somebody say it, I was like, well, you know, everybody complains about Chinese knives, but try to find an American-made cell phone. And I got a response that I had to agree with, and the guy was like, well, you know, knives are the only thing left that I still can buy only American-made, and I choose so. I'm like, that's fair, but like I said, you're gonna pay more a lot of times to get quality that's not as good. I just prefer to have a good product at a good price, so I like QSP pretty well. I have another unique item. It's technically not a knife. I don't like MagnaCut. I don't like MagnaCut. MagnaCut's not the steel for me. It's not that it's not a good steel. It's just it doesn't have the qualities in it that I want. It's just a personal thing. This, oh, Sergeant Rock, if you're still here, this is a folding tomahawk. I mean, you could have a smock and MagnaCut because that's a steel I'm not going to buy and a knife I'm not going to buy. They're Lone Star. Lone Star, I still want to go back to the serial killer Messer comment. You need to translate that for me because it was, obviously you could read it and you were responding to them. This is done by KATSU. KATSU is a company that is crazy. This is insane. It is an axis lock tomahawk. There's a glass breaker and a pin so that you can
What is this? Mike, looking for a new knife for deer season. What do you suggest? Been carrying a K-bar for years, getting old, don't feel like regripping it. I'd like to get something more user-friendly. I will text you a link. I will text you a link. Text me after this, or text me during, because I'm on a different device than the phone number you have. Text me and remind me, and I will send you a link specifically to the knife that I recommend. It's a great knife. It's made by a guy in Ohio. It's a guy named Lon Humphrey. He's making knives just like 5 miles from my mom's house in Ohio. This is really cool though, because like I said, while it's folding, it does still have a pin that you put in. Actually, I think it goes this way. There's a pin that goes in it. Oh, well, the glass, you can take it out. But then it's just got a little glass breaker, but the reason it's there, they just put it on there, but the reason it's there is because it's a place to store it, and now that takes all the impact, and you don't screw up your axis lock, and it stays locked. And then on this end of it, I don't know if you can see that, are the screws. It's the Torx bit for the body screws, so that you can take these carbon fiber pieces off if you don't want them on there. So you can just put that in there. So this is a really cool item, and I thought about it because it wasn't like, I was looking at it from like an outdoor standpoint on this. I'm taking that back out. I was looking at it. Winston Cabretti, you can buy Miguron M390 in titanium, costs $100 cheaper than any bench made in aluminum S30B. Yeah, you can. The other thing that's on this too is it's got a spot for a lanyard, and once that's in there, like it's in there. But I got to talking with the company about this, and they're like, well, it's not really designed as an outdoor, like, for what I was thinking, like bushcraft, like just something you could throw in your pack and fold it up. It was designed by a Japanese paratrooper, like the Japanese equivalent of their special forces. And he wanted something that he could use in case he got blown off course as a additional combat item and small survival tool. And I'll tell you, you can use it for a lot of stuff. But when you look at it from that standpoint, like a folding tomahawk for a combat tool, it makes a lot more sense in my head now. So, Haitian head splitter, as Sergeant Rock there just said. I wanted to get one of my unique ones out. I'm gonna show you a knife that has a unique feature. Finch Knives puts a glow in the dark shield on almost all their knives. Just a unique feature that glows in the dark. It's kind of cool. It's the Stinger. Death from the desktop. Makes more sense as a fighting hatchet. That's what I said. Once they kind of laid it out there for me, they're like, well, it's not like a bushcraft hatchet. Because I was complaining, I was like, yeah, like I used it, and like you have, like, there's no weight distribution. Like when you've got like a hatchet, like a field hatchet, the weight's at the front, it does all the work. Well, that thing is pretty much the same weight from tip to tail. So instead of just like being able to like allow it to do the work and just use the wrist, that thing absolutely requires that you just have to do all the work. There is no like it's doing the work for you because of the weight. So it's definitely, it made more sense. It's not tritium, it's just glow in the dark epoxy. I do have tritium. I put a radioactive butt plug in my Spyderco. Let's see if the sensors catch that one. This has a tritium vial in it, so that glows at night. That's from Glow Rhino. They put button locks on everything now. Well, button locks are good locks, and the reason, JHA67, the reason is because for a lot of years, button locks were either expensive to do or really bad, and sometimes a combination of both. But with modern machining techniques and new designs to the way that they do it, it's become a lot more affordable, and there's ways to do it that are better. Here's a really good button lock. And the reason they do it now is because button lock is an ambidextrous lock. It incorporates a couple things. Button locks are safer, definitely safer because you're out of the travel of the blade. It's ambidextrous, right? And they're easier to make the handles for because there's no cutout. And a frame lock, I don't know if you know this, there's a large portion of failures in frame locks because when you make a frame lock, where are we at here? Let me grab one. Let me grab a good one. Here we go. This is a good one, easy one to see. When you make a frame lock, you have to cut that area out, and then it's still straight. You bend it, you have to then bend that over. And there's a lot of times that you break your lock bar. You don't have to worry about that with a button lock. If your spring tension goes bad, you put a new spring in it because it's a plunger that moves on a spring. Spring tension goes bad on this, it's probably because that cracked. You can only bend a paper clip so many times before it breaks. You've heard that, right? So when they cut that out and have to apply that spring tension to it, there's a lot of lock failure. Chris and Elliot would typically order 25, like between 15 and 25% extra parts of everything because of failure. With a button lock, it's a lot less. Yeah, there's more moving parts. Like there is no extra piece to make for the lock on this. It's part of the handle. It's an integral lock. None. There's no weight reduction on this. None. You wouldn't put that on a knife that you're going to put weight reduction in. It should be heavy. It should feel heavy. You should know it's there. But at any rate, while these eliminate a lot of moving parts, so there's less failure of the actual mechanism, you have to do a little bit of extra work, so you run the risk of failure. With a button lock, you don't have this. And then you have the comfort level of a button lock because when you open this knife, see how that kicks in and drops in? You can feel that. It's not horrible, and a lot of us have just gotten used to it over the years. But the fact is, on something like a compression lock, it's like not having a lock. You don't really feel it. And where you would feel it is in an area that you typically aren't putting a lot of stress on. And if you put a CME on a compression lock, it fills that gap and it just feels solid piece. So that's why button locks are so popular these days. There's another one. Winston Cabretti sent me this one. Birthday gift. Birthday gift. If I had done a video asking people to send me presents, that would be a birthday gift. Hey, what's up, Peter? So button locks are really good because super comfortable. It allows you to definitely have ambidextrous. Which this is a great knife, by the way, Winston. This is great. This is done by Kunwu. So unique. Unique because of the grind. We saw this one the other day when we were talking about Tontos. Pretty unique. I need to try and keep as much of this stuff put away as possible. Here's one for you. Here's one for you that's unique because Elliot has a sense of humor. People kept like telling him, he was like, I don't know if you noticed. He noticed, he knew, he designed that handle. He saw how the handle was built and he goes, I got to do it. I got to make it look like a pecker. This is a great knife. This is the, not the Mordax. Shit. I can't remember what this one is. This is the We Knives something. Somebody that remembers it, let me know. I originally had a name for it. Is this the Malice? No, the Malice was the one that looks like, no. The Malice looks like this on Minax, there you go. The Malice looks like this. Went on a, it looks like this knife, but then turned into old Nick Cabo avocado 2 days prior. Fat. Looks like it put on a bunch of weight. It's one of these that got fat. This is the Minax. So yeah, this is a really unique knife. This is a great, I just couldn't think of it. I've got so many fucking knives that are here. This is a prototype. Elliot gave me this. I carried the prototype forever. As you can see, it got used a good bit. It's got a lot of scratching and stuff on it. Gave it to me for testing, and then let me keep the prototype. But everybody's like, does he know that looks like a pecker? I'm like, he absolutely knows it looks like a pecker. When he designed the handles for it, after you put the blade in it, he was like, I gotta fucking do it. And I was like, what? And he goes, look. And I watched him drawing the lines on it, and I was like, are you gonna put a lanyard hole in it? And he goes, I thought about it, but I hate lanyard holes. And I was like, that would have been the only thing if you just put a little lanyard hole right here at the very tip. And he goes, I know, but I can't. He's like, I hate lanyard holes. And I was like, fair enough. The Minax is a great, great knife. This was Knife of the Year 4 years ago. I think this was my Knife of the Year 4 years ago. Can't remember. It's a great knife. I carried this when I was doing construction, and then I refinished the handles. I need to refinish the blade. Yeah. What was I gonna show? I had expensive knives too. I have a couple expensive knives that are kind of expensive for no real good reason. I haven't seen the high fin. I've seen the kite fin, and I didn't like the kite fin. So I kind of steered away from the high fin because I figured it was the kind of the similar, maybe just higher price. So I wasn't 100% sure about that one. So I kind of didn't really go after it. Why, do you have one you want to send in? There, what's the point EDC? You can hit me up on, DM me on Instagram. Borrow some of my shit too if you want. What else do I have that's unique? I mean, I have stuff that's just like hand carved and unique, but I do have some stuff that's like crazy expensive. Oh, here's one that's unique. This one's unique because all the Olamics are unique. This was a gift. So this is the Olamic Wayfarer 247 in the sheep's cliff style. But it's unique because not only does it have, I'm not talking about like the stone wash pattern, but it's got some unique features to it, like the pocket clip. Super comfortable. Super, super comfortable. It's got the ceramic ball bearing style here. The Ozempic has it. So really, really comfortable pocket clip, nice and thin. It sits up on these posts. It does make taking this knife apart, so to refinish it like I did, kind of problematic, because I did a specific, can you guys see the unique anodizing that I did on that, where it's two-tone? Can you see the hidden two-tone on that? So it's blue, but it's also green. Can you see that? Can you see how it's two different colors? That's the best I've ever caught that. That's the best I've ever caught that. It's almost like a reflection underwater. Yes, this is USA made. You can see how it's got two different colors to it. I'm gonna tell you right now, this anode that I did on this, because I love this knife, was a nightmare. I did that. Like, that is my anodizing I did on that. I did that. And then, because pocket clips, I don't sell anything on Whatnot. Then I did the, just send these. I don't sell anything on what, all the knives we're looking at are my personal collection. So I did all that anodizing, all the work, all the hardware is the same color green. I polished everything. It was worth it. And I think it took me like 3 days to finally get it exactly the way I wanted it. But yeah, you can see it's got two tones. So it's underscore Emler underscore edge, I think. Or it's just Michael Emler. I do make custom. I did. I was a custom knife denter. This is Olamic. So this is Olamic 247. This is one of theirs. I used to make custom knives. My shoulder is completely shot. Fortnite news. Better Health and some other places. If you're seriously feeling like that, there's a lot of mental health places that can help you. I'm not trying to blow you off. I'm just saying I can't help you here. If you're a veteran, reach out to Veterans Affairs. I do it occasionally. Veterans Affairs. I will tell you, people complain about the VA, right? People complain about the VA. If you're a veteran, reach out to the VA. They're great about it. That's how I got my therapist. I have PTSD. If you are experiencing something there, Fortnite, please reach out to someone. Please. I'm not blowing you off. I'm just saying I can't. The VA here, I'm just down the road from the La Jolla VA Center. I've never had an issue dealing with the VA. As a matter of fact, I've had better issues dealing with the VA than I have because I'm also retired. My TRICARE, I've had better results with the VA sometimes about some stuff. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not worth it. The damage you're gonna do to family and everything. Miranda Hastings, thank you very much for the subscribe. I have, like I said, we've talked about some unique knives that I have. This one's unique because, like I said, this was hand carved by the maker for me as this was a gift. This was a gift from some friends. They had it hand carved by the maker. This one is unique because this is a one-off. It's all hand textured. This is the two-tone blade on this, and it's a full ceramic coating that is actually, that black is a ceramic coating. I used to do ceramic coating on knives as well, in the same shop as these guys. This is the guy that taught me how to make knives, the guy that made this. And so my anodizing game is amazing because these are the guys that taught me. This is in 20 CV Arizona Tactical. This is in 20 CV titanium, all hand. These are Ferrum Forge Knife Works knives. Here's another unique one because of the finish on the blade. It is polished, but yet you can still see that it's not completely polished. Let me see if we can turn this around. Maybe I can get you a better view of it here. Let's see. Can you see how it, yes, it's polished, but you can still see the grain structure of the steel. Very, very unique. Elliot does amazing work. Same guy. Ferrum Forge Knife Works. Same company. But this is one that I find really, Zach is here. Zach's giving me a bunch of stuff. I didn't bring out any of the stuff that Zach said. This one is unique. This one I did ceramic coating on everything and then only had one pop of color because I just wanted it all black. I did not do these screws here. But everything else except for the body screws is all black with one little pop of color where I anodized the over travel stop. So this is a baked on ceramic. This is another one of Elliot's knives that he did, all stone, like rock patterned down through here. All done in black ceramic coating. It was a baked on ceramic coating. It was actually baked. So, but I do have, so that's some pretty unique stuff, but there's some other, like we've talked about, like this one. We talked about this in a video. This one's unique because while you can just carry it like most regular knives, it's just a flipper, but it also has a hidden switchblade mechanism in it. That's really unique. Definitely interesting. Lone Star Ferrum Forge, one of my favorite designs, but no reversible clips. Elliot doesn't like reversible clips because you give up aesthetic to have a spot for the pocket clip, right? But Elliot also is like, you know what? Here's the thing. 10% of the population at max is left-handed. And of that 10%, only 10% of those people are into knives. The way that would make it financially sane for him to do left-handed knives and add that to his design. So the fact is that 10% of 10% of the knife community, he's like, why should I make 10%? Why should I try to cater to 1/5 of the population? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And most left-handed people carry right-handed knives anyway. So I'm right-handed, and I carry knives in my left pocket all the time. I carry left-handed knives. As a matter of fact, I don't even change the pocket clip. I just put it in my left pocket. Like this one, absolutely can change all of those. I do like this knife. This knife is unique because of the design. It's a Warncliffe style with a sway back here. I think we've hit about most of the unique knives, most of them. That's not to say all of them. I have this one. Exo gravity knife. Thing's great. For a gravity knife, it is absolutely the best gravity knife you're gonna have. If you want a fast deployment self-defense knife. Problem is there's no lock on this one. This is the original Exo gravity knife. There's no lock on this one. So there's nothing to clip it, and there's no pocket clip, which I dig that there's no pocket clip. And the solution for it not having a lock is I have a pocket slip, a leather pocket slip that I carry this in. So this is definitely the best. This is definitely the best gravity knife. Hand that to the police. Most places these days, to tell you the truth and be honest with you, as much as I did a video about the illegality of switchblades and things like this knife is illegal. It is legal now, more places than it's illegal. You can carry this openly in Ohio. You want to put this in your pocket in Ohio if you don't mind possibly puncturing your scrotum because there's no lock on it. You want to just throw this in your pocket? In Ohio, you can go for it. You want to carry a switchblade in Ohio? You can. You want to open carry a firearm? You want to hide a firearm in your car in Ohio? You can. So the stigma of the legalities of this, it's like the devil's lettuce. Most places it's legal on a state. Now, I will say, you can carry switchblades in a lot of places, but if you go to tax office, DMV, well, not necessarily DMV. If you go to the tax office or I have no idea where my daughter just went. Tax office, the post office, any federal building, then you're breaking the law because they are federally prohibited, but not. They don't act on it. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of places are like, we just don't even enforce that anymore. They haven't taken the law off the books, but they don't enforce it. So it's the same with this, with like a switchblade. Most places, they really don't care. And the fact is, to be honest, is that any more rapid deployment or dangerous than that? If anything, this is easier and a little faster because you gotta build up the tension on this. You know what I mean? I gotta clean this one out. You guys, before I go any further and I show you like the most expensive knife in my collection, if you have one of these, the best way to clean one of these out is you take a pick and you stick in here and you turn and loosen this, take the glass breaker out, right? And then you want to do it with the blade open because it's going to be difficult to get it open again after it. And you take, you want to be able to clean the whole thing out anyway. Jet spray gum out brake cleaner, and you spray it in that hole until all the gunk comes out, and then you spray this area as well up underneath the switch. You don't want to take, you don't even need to take it apart. Spray that jet spray gum out brake cleaner down through that, let it evaporate, and then put a couple drops of either, what's the one? Rem oil. If you want to use rem oil evaporates. But you can also use KPL Ultralight, which is what I use on mine. And then when you close it, it's going to lubricate, and then it's going to be stiff. Do that a couple times, and if it's still stiff, like another drop on each side until you get that lubrication worked out. Don't ever have to take one of these apart to clean it out. That is one of the nice things about an OTF. You spray some spray solvent in there. There's no plastic parts in here. And then you just re-lubricate it from the top, and then you just put your pocket clip and butt your glass breaker back on it. It's no problem. This one needs clean. And then when you re-oil it, put a drop on either side of the switch. So, just easy. Just a little bit of advice on how to clean one of these, because they are not that fun to take apart. Balisongs are not a gravity knife. They're a different mechanism. Gravity knife simply requires gravity. A balisong falls into butterfly or wrist flick. Hang on. I'm going to show you the difference. A gravity knife, some knives get called a gravity knife. Technically, they're not a gravity knife. I have another knife that's listed as a gravity knife. I'm going to go get it and show it to you. Hang on, just take me a second. This is called a Dragonfly. It's listed as a gravity knife, but in my opinion, it's not a gravity knife, because we saw the actual gravity knife, right? It's not, though. Like, when you look at, they get grouped together, but they're really not. They're two separate things. Just because limes and lemons have the same name in Spanish doesn't mean they're the same thing. And I mean, we can agree to disagree, but the fact is, that's gravity. I don't have to do anything. That's gravity, right? This doesn't do anything with gravity. I have to do a motion. That's not gravity. That requires me to intercede and do something. There's more mechanism at play in a gravity knife. The gravity knife, the gravity does it. Was the Oval Nationals Championship? Oval National Championship is a 3-night racing event held in Paris Auto Speedway here in San Diego area, and it is for the USAC CRA wingless sprints on a dirt track. And that is a picture of my friend Ricky Gaunt at the 1999 Oval Nationals when he won, that he signed. It's a painting, actually. So it's like a lithograph kind of like painting kind of thing that a guy does. He does these and they get sold, but that was a gift, and Ricky signed it for me. So it's fun. Dirt track racing is a lot of fun to watch. But at any rate, this and Butterfly knives fall into a category that are more akin to something different, and they're technically called enclosed folders. Triple action. This is another one that's just like a triple action. It's an enclosed folder. It doesn't have a lock. It works a lot like a gravity knife, but they fall into the category of an enclosed folder. I have to do something besides let gravity take over. You see what I'm saying? There's more moving parts to it. They're really similar, but and I mean, the government may group them as such, but they fall into a different category. At any rate, this is the Dragonfly. Now, Jared over at Knives Knives is designing a better version of this that's gonna have a detent, much more akin to the triple action. I forget, I think Lee Perrin Knives has a triple action enclosed folder really similar to this, but has a detent. The problem with this one is, you can see there's nothing holding it. So there's nothing to hold it open or closed. So you can't just put this in your pocket. It would be cool to be able to carry this. But because it doesn't have a pocket clip, yeah, the Campoline Dragonfly, but because it doesn't have a pocket clip and it doesn't have a detent, you can't just put this in your pocket. It is fun, but it also has its own laundry list of issues. Like if you don't know how to do the work on that, like you're gonna have that slam shut, and I've done it. There's chips out of the blade and everything, where you'll get it part way and you'll slam into this, or you'll get it part way open and if you can see in there, I don't know how well you can see. There's some spots where I've gotten the tip of the knife into the handle, so these aren't great. And I did a video where I made a joke where I blamed Jared for me buying this because he had it on his channel. I think they weren't expensive, but they're more expensive than they should be because they're not very good. You know what I mean? Hang on a second. Yeah. See here what's going on. I just got, holy cow. I got a text message, sorry. The other one was the Lee. So I had a triple action. I had cold steel. I had both. I had all three versions of the cold steel triple actions. We gave them away. We did a giveaway here on the channel on a live feed, and I can't remember. Hang on a second. I'm trying to figure out what happened here. I just got a bunch of text messages. Okay. What was that? The other one was the Lee Trifolder. But was it Perrin Knives that did that? Was that Lee Perrin that designed that? Because you had the Trifolder, and it was a smaller knife like that Dragonfly, which I think is the one we're both talking about. And then I had the cold steel triple actions that were really, really good. My favorite, the Deadlock by fuck, I can't remember who makes the Deadlock. The Deadlock is like the best OTF out there, but it was a father and son. I can't think of the name. It's Fred Perrin. That's what I thought. Okay, Perrin. That was Fred Perrin. Hawk, yeah, Grant and Gavin Hawk. I met the dad. I met the father a couple times. He's a great dude. I had some dealings with the son that weren't anywhere near as good, and I like the knife. The Deadlock's a great knife. It's definitely worth, like, the amount of work that goes into it. It's definitely worth $1,000. But the interactions I had with the son, I can't remember which is which. Grant and Gavin Hawk, I can't remember which is the son, which is the father. He and I just aren't ever going to get along. And we had something planned that we were going to do. It was related with the channel, and his dad was all in, and he seemed like he was on board with it. And then I reached out, and they're like, "Oh, we just don't think your platform's big enough." And I was like, "Well, that's not at all what you told me 3-4 months ago when we had planned this, and I had set aside a time for us to do this." And they're like, "Yeah, read it, hit us back up when your platform's closer to 100, 150,000. And I was like, Yeah, but here's the thing. The video I did for your knife got like 45,000 views. That's 45,000 people I exposed to your knife. And the majority of them said they had never seen that knife. So I don't appreciate that, especially like having been a knife maker. If people want to ask you a question, that's fine. But the whole thing was, I felt it was kind of a shitty thing to do. And so I was like, you know, I just won't interact. It's fine. It's a great knife. They make great knives. I just don't have to, I don't have to necessarily like the person to like the knife, but I'm not going to seek out. But yeah, the Deadlock, that's my favorite. Of all time, of the OTFs and autos, that's my favorite. If I had to pick one that I own, I don't think it's here. It's on, I let my buddy borrow it. I have an out the side auto. It is a, Chuck, stop. Heretic Knives Medusa. It's a push button out the side. If I had to pick, like, of all the autos I have, my favorite, that's it. It's just not here because I let my buddy borrow it because he wanted to do a quick, I don't know what he wanted to do with it. He borrowed it. So it's not here. But it's a great knife. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with I got just a text message about my daughter's college. So the daughter starts college in like a week. So now we've talked about unique and rare knives. What we haven't looked at yet are the expensive knives. And I know that some of you guys are gonna balk at the price that's been paid for some of these knives. So we're gonna do that in just a second. I'm checking this again real quick, hang on. So there's some expensive knives out there that you can get into on this market. And I just sold my OTF right now to afford truck insurance. Insurance has gotten stupid. My insurance payment went from $800 a year to $1,800 a year because my daughter got her license. And I'm like, I taught her how to drive. She's going to drive the same way I do. And if you're an insured, I called them. I was like, that's kind of crazy. And they're like, yeah, but she's a new driver. She's doesn't even have a year of driving experience. And I'm like, I'm the one that taught her. You insure me. What would be different? So let's start. Let's start a little lower and work our way up the price range, because like if you're new to knives and if you're new to this channel, you're gonna look at it and be like, that's crazy. So this, like, most people would look at this, and I paid $300+ for this. Paid $302. I think they're $320 now. Paid $300 for this, right? $300 a roundabout. That's kind of an expensive knife, but that's just pretty much the average price of knives. Pretty much the average price of knives in my collection, right? Just about that price point. Just about $300, maybe a little bit less. These are about $300. It's about the average price for knives in my collection at this point. I have a lot of budget knives, I really do, but knives that like I gravitate to, the knives that are mine, that I carry, that are part of the collection and not just out in the studio for compilation videos, the knives that go into my pocket every day that I carry because they're my knives that I carry. It's gonna be probably something like this. It's in a certain price range because there's some things that go into it. I love the aesthetic of this knife. So we've got knives in that price point and stuff, and in the 300s, just shy of 300 on this. It's a great knife that I carry, but there's some expensive knives in my collection, like really expensive knives in my collection. Like I said, I think when this first came out, it was close to $700. So we've already talked about that one. But this, as we go up the spectrum, this is a $700 retail price knife. That's what you pay for it new. Did you go for a walk?
Yeah.
Did you check Chomp?
No, because the creator.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't walk. He just tries to scratch.
I gotcha. We talked about the MSI earlier. I liked the MSA quality and everything. It just wasn't a knife for me, and I'm friends with Tony Marfione, so instead, like, I typically wouldn't have held back, but the only things I found wrong with the MSI were stuff that I just didn't personally like. And so when I looked at it, I was like, do I really want to make a video about something that is... I didn't want to do something about I didn't want to do a video about a knife and have it be completely negative based on just my opinions when I'm friends with the designer, with the owner of the company and all that stuff, considering there was nothing wrong with the knife. I just did not like that design. It's a good knife. It was built really well. You can't go wrong with Microtech's quality, especially over the years, it's even gotten better. But at any rate, these are about $700 retail. If you get on Alex Steingraber's mailing list, and these are, you can only get them from him. You can only get them through the mailing list, and he lets you know when they come available. But this is a great knife. Probably one of the best American-made knives out there right now. Secondary market price, anywhere between $900 and $1,200, because they're hard to come by. Now, I didn't buy this knife. Transparency, a lot of the knives you see on the channel, they were given to the channel for videos, and companies do that, not so much to try and get a review, but they send you a knife and they know that they can't then sell that knife. So does it really make sense to come back? And I offered to send this back to him so he could send it to somebody else, told me to keep it. He doesn't even make them in the steel anymore. Great, great knife. $700 to $800, I think, if you buy them directly from him. If you're on a secondary market, between $900 and $1,200, right? Not a cheap knife. Worth it all day and every day, twice on Sunday. It's an incredibly good knife. It is one of the best built knives you're gonna find. Oh, I missed one out there. I missed one. These are $340. This is another knife that I absolutely highly recommend. What did I see here? Hang on. I don't have my reading glasses on. Viron X, you look so much like an actor, I can't put my finger on it. Which one, though? What movies are you in? I don't know. KATSU Knives. And this specific one. Now, they're making a design for me. I'm doing a folding knife with them. It's going to be a little bit different. But this is their ZK04. Now, I have a link to KATSU Knives down below. It's an affiliate link, so if you see this knife and you like it and you want to check it out, or any of the KATSU knife stuff, you can do that. But that's not why I'm showing it to you. I'm just saying, like, this is an expensive, more expensive knife. These are about $340, right? So these, they're getting into like the pricier kind of stuff. So this is ZDP 189, 67 Rockwell, carbon fiber, titanium, nice pocket clip. It's all recurve, or I'm sorry, it's not recurve, it's convex. So that means it's like apple seated all the way down. So really similar to a Rockstead. Kind of an expensive knife. Like we talked about that one. This is $350. This is the Finch Runtley XL. Great, great knife. Starting to get a little bit more expensive. And I'm doing this because I want to save the big reveal for the last three. So I have a lot of knives that fall in that $300 to $500 price range. Some of them I bought, some of them were given to me. Do I recommend OTFs? No, I really don't. They typically aren't as reliable. They get a lot more gunk and stuff down in them. They get dirtier easier. They're finicky. And the fact is, OTFs typically have a very thin blade profile, which means that they have a thicker blade stock because of the way the mechanism works, which means they don't have a lot of time to transition down in that grind to get thinner behind the edge, so they typically aren't as good a cutter. Oh, my collection's probably worth just the case that's over here to my right, I'd say $15,000 worth of knives in this case. This was $410 when I bought this brand new, paid for it. So then we start getting into some crazier stuff. This is a knife that I waited 5 years to buy. This, I also did the custom anodizing on it where it's two-tone, where you have the darker blue on the outside, lighter blue on the inside, like an electric blue multi. This is the Grimsmo Norseman. I paid $900 used on this knife. New, I think they're $1,100. Great, great knife, all handmade. Well, you know, all made in one shop by a guy. He even made the screws. Everything on this blade was made by, how do you two-tone anodize? You start with a higher voltage, and then you clean off the area that you want to do a lower voltage on. So I did a high voltage blue. I did a higher voltage blue, which was lighter, and then put this on a perfectly fat platform. And then with polishing compound, after I think 400,000 grit sandpaper, 400, I went from 400 to 1,000 grit to remove the top layer of anodizing, and then put it back in the anode tank and did it at a lower voltage because the higher voltage would have overcolored. So you have higher voltage in the middle, lower voltage on the flats. So I know the voltage I did on the front. So if this starts to wear out, I just have to put it in an anode tank and it comes back exactly the way it was. And I orange peeled the pocket clip on this. This is basically a $1,000 knife. So I wanted one for years. I saved up for like 5 years. I had to spend the money on stuff occasionally, and so that's what took so long. I'd get to a point where I was ready to buy one, and I picked out exactly what I wanted. I found one that met exactly what I wanted. Reverse honeycomb, no steel lock bar insert, just because it made it sound and feel different, and had the double stop pin configuration, so I don't ever have to worry about reconfiguring the lock face marriage on this if I put a larger stop pin in. The only thing I have to worry about is the closed position. That will change, but it's not going to change the the position. I'm sorry, the open position will be what I have to change, not the closed. So that way I can get my lockup back the way I want it, but not have to worry about the closed position, because I'll show you what happens if you have to. If you have to adjust that, if you have to adjust the closed position and put a bigger stop pin in, then you wind up with your blade sticking up a lot closer to the end of the handle where I can touch the tip of that knife, because I had to put a new stop pin in, and you can see in here, that shiny area in there is where I had to remove material to accommodate for the stop pin, and then I had to take material off of the lock face to accommodate the open position on that. Well, when you change that position in everything and put that larger stop pin in, it lifts it up in the closed position. Double stop pin, you don't have to worry about that. At any rate, but that's one of those little innovations that are really expensive in this knife. And the fact that he makes every piece of this, including the screws, in his shop, on his machines. So about $900. These are about the same price range, between $800 and $1,200 on the secondary market. This is that Diskin. This was Elijah Isham's. It was a gift to me. He gave it to me before he passed away. Years ago, he gave this to me, and then he passed away after, and it's a constant, just something I would never get rid of. But these are between $800 and $1,000. It's got a Damas steel, let me see, can I turn this around so you guys can see it? It's got a Damas steel pivot on it. Lots of fine detail work on this knife. And it's got a hidden mechanism, switchblade mechanism in it. So you can either deploy it like a regular knife, right? So this is matte Diskin. So that's about that same price point. Then I've got a couple really crazy ones that were hand carved. So both of these are at least 1,000, if not more. This one is a hand carved maker's choice. There's no, what? In the thumb hole? No, there's no anything in the thumb hole. It's just a thumb hole. Just a milled out thumb hole. It does have some really cool milled jimping on it. Anyway, this is a Ferrum Forge Knife Works collab with Mike Gavick over at KATSU Knives. This was the spinner. So really, really cool, aggressive looking knife, but then it's been hand carved to look like a fish. And when I say hand carved, I mean Elliot takes a Dremel and puts it in his hand. And I don't mean one of the ones with the cable extension. I mean just a Dremel with the motor on top, and uses it like a pencil and carves with that. And he used a 1/32 ball end mill, because we're gonna turn this around so you guys can see it a little closer, to do the detailing on it, because this has scales on it like a fish that he put hours and hours and hours of work into, because those are all hand carved with a 1/32 ball end mill in the chuck of a Dremel. So stuff like that makes things crazy expensive, because the number of hours that went into this are crazy. So the amount of work that went into this was insane. I remember watching him do this. Now, I did not pay full price for this knife. I didn't pay close to full price. I had a guy that was a YouTube subscriber that had won this in a lottery and paid $300 for it, because he bought $300 worth of lottery tickets. Basically, it was you get the knife. It was just he bought spots, and when he bought enough spots, his number got called. He got the knife. So whoever was doing the raffle, basically, it wound up being extremely profitable for him, and he got the knife for $300. I bought it for the same price. But these were $1,200 with everything included, right? This one is a little bit different. This was a commissioned piece by my buddy Tino and my buddy Matt, or my buddy Tino and my buddy Nico. This is a Ferrum Forge Master Blaster, and Elliot hand carved this one as well. So this was a collaboration between him, Ferrum Forge Knife Works, and Les George. This was the Ferrum Forge Knife Works Master Blaster. Elliot went around the shop. Elliot and those two went around the shop, and they found all the parts they could that were left over, because like I told you, they had extra parts. Remember when we were talking about getting knives made and problems and failures? And so they went around and did through the shop and found extra pieces that were still viable, and a blade that still worked, that wasn't screwed up. There was a flaw in the blade, and Elliot fixed it and made this knife. Well, these knives were $600 to start, like for the baseline model, which every knife is the same. The baseline models and the Maker's Choice, or this one, are the same knife. The additional $600 that went into the carving, because that's not colored. That is a piece of copper that was milled into a slot and pounded in. There was a slot milled into the titanium, pounded in, and then Elliot carved that to look like the spine of a xenomorph, because I'm a big Aliens fan, the Giger style, and it works so good on this knife. And so my friends bought the knife and paid to have him hand carve it. This is one of my all-time favorite knives to carry. It is, I mean, you can see all the scratching on that blade. Now, when you look at that, this was a $600 knife baseline, $600 carving, it's a $1,200 knife. And it is amazing. And I use every one of these knives you guys have seen. So it's been a little over 2 hours. My wife's gonna be back soon. I'm trying to think of planning some things for future live feeds. So if you guys have ideas of what you wanna do on the next couple live feeds, go to my community tab. I'm gonna do a post like, hey, what do you guys wanna talk about in the next upcoming live feeds? Go to my channel, make sure you're subscribed, go check that out. Check out the video I did yesterday of Jared's knife over at Ferrum Forge Knife Works. Someone said that I have like the perfect YouTube live face with the perfect voice decibel. Well, that is because I'm wearing a wireless microphone. I'm a very loud person because I spent my entire career in the Navy working on firearms, working at the range, doing long distance marksmanship, and working inside a 3-story gun on Navy ships. And I know I'm loud, and I'm wearing a lavalier mic, and I have my gain set at a specific level, and I can see that I'm not getting past the yellow. The only reason I'm not blowing out y'all's eardrums because I'm deaf is because I use an expensive microphone system. And it has definitely come in handy. It's fixed a lot of the audio issues I have on. I sound kind of tinny and higher pitched than I actually am in real life, just because the microphone doesn't have the same audio rendering, I guess, as what you get if you talk to me in real life. So some people will talk to me like, you don't sound like you do in your videos. I'm like, that's because I edit the audio to get rid of high points where I'm really loud. And I change the filter on the voice so it's not as sometimes gravelly, I guess. But this doesn't have any of that. So you get a much more trebly, but even, I guess, would be what I would say. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure you're subscribed. Go to the community tab on my channel. I'm gonna post up what you guys wanna talk about in the next upcoming live feeds, and I'll see if I can accommodate it. And because I do enjoy doing this, and just on this live feed right now, I believe that we are sitting at, just in the last hour, about 4,000 views. So there's 4,000 people that have been watching this. Just about, a lot of people watch this. So 5.5 thousand people have watched this live feed. So if you guys are interested in having an input about what we talk about next, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Go to the community tab. I'm going to put up a post asking you guys what you want to talk about in the next live feed. Make sure that you check out my Amazon store down below to support the channel. I did recently get laid off. I try not to mention it. If you guys did enjoy the live feed, I'd really appreciate it if you thought about joining the membership. But take those Amazon, those links that are down below, especially the Amazon store. Use that for everything. If you guys want to drop a super chat in live feeds, it's available. I didn't even mention it until now because a lot of people get offended at it and are like, oh, he's e-begging. But I did just get laid off from my job, and this is the only thing I'm doing for income right now until I get another job. So just throwing that out there. Guys, I will definitely... Sorry, something caught my attention. I will definitely see you guys in a few days. Tomorrow there will be a video going up. Tomorrow's Friday. You may not see another live feed until Monday or Thursday next week. So I try to do Monday, Thursday live feeds. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday are pre-recorded videos. So guys, that's it. I'm out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I really enjoyed it. I love doing it like this. I love the interaction. I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you go check out the video I did about Jared Neves over at Neves Knives, his design, which is the misdemeanor. So I will see. What the fuck is this? Somebody called somebody an idiot. Oh, I see who he called an idiot. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.